What's going on, guys? It's Coach Mac back here once again, not only helping you with basketball, but helping you with life. Okay, so today I want to talk about the teammate that I hated as a player or I strongly dislike, and the player that I strongly dislike as a coach. I didn't like him then, and I don't like him now. And it's not anything that's fancy, it's not anything that's just crazy, something that's unheard of, but it's real simple. And it's simply the unbelieving teammate. This is the player, the teammate who never thinks y'all are going to win the big games. This is the player who's always pessimistic, who believes that you're going to win the games that you're supposed to win and then lose the games that you're supposed to lose to because this team is ranked higher than you. So I want to address you if you're that player or that teammate, or address you and how you should handle this player or teammate if you are around them. So remember, there's Bible for everything. So I want to talk about the story of Zechariah and Elizabeth. I'm going to give you some history and then we're going to go from there. So Zechariah and Elizabeth lived back in Israel during biblical times. And Zechariah and Elizabeth were known as righteous people. And it wasn't because they did everything right, but it's because they love God, they love the law, and they try to obey it and abide by it. So God not only loved them, but he liked them. But there was one thing that Zechariah and Elizabeth did not have that was the big no-no back in those days. And it was almost as if you were cursed if you did not have this. And that was they did not have a child. Not only did they not have a child, but they did not have a son to continue to carry on the legacy of the legacy of that father. So when you were not able to have children back during these times, the people believed that there was something wrong with you, that there was something that you were doing that God was not pleased with, that there may have been something that was hidden. But this was not the case for Zechariah and Elizabeth. It was simply that God had just not entrusted them with a son just yet. So Zechariah, as I mentioned before, he was a priest, and he was chosen to be one out of 18,000 priests to be able to offer up the prayers of the people at the altar of incense in the holy temple. Now, there was one of 14 every year who got this opportunity, and they were not chosen by man, but they were chosen by God. So this was basically a once in a lifetime opportunity for Zechariah. So let's fast forward to him being in the temple praying, in the holy place, praying for the people of Israel. So as Zechariah is praying, an angel comes to him. And Zechariah is human. He's like any of us. Imagine if an angel came to you, then you would probably be afraid. And Zechariah was afraid. So as he was praying and this angel came to him, chances are he was not praying for him and Elizabeth to have a son, as they were old in age, and that prayer had probably been something they had prayed for years ago and had not touched on recently. But the angel came to him and said that the Lord had heard his prayer and that it will be answered. And what's significant about Zechariah's name is that Zechariah's name means God has remembered again. And just some history is that the people of Israel had not heard from another prophet. It had been 400 years since they had heard from a prophet, and they were believing to think that God had forgotten about them. So it's just crazy, or is not crazy, but is cool how God works in naming Zechariah, and that his very name means God has remembered again, which reminds them, or should be reminding them, that God has not forgotten about them. But it would be through Zechariah that the children of Israel would turn back to God. But let's go back to Zechariah and his meeting with this angel. Because he was old, he did not believe that that God could bless him and Elizabeth with a child, which was a big and a huge no-no, because who am I to question what God is able to do? So because of his unbelief, his mouth was closed shut until the birth of his son, John, which we know as John the Baptist, and who was very significant. He was greater than all the prophets before him. He was just not greater than Jesus Christ himself. So during this time, Zechariah's mouth was shut, and I believe there were some reasons as to why Zechariah's mouth was shut. But let's talk about the danger of unbelief. One, and not in any any particular order. The danger of unbelief and the way this can affect you as a team and the way it's related to sports is the fact that that it can become cancerous. One player who does not believe can infect another player who does believe, causing them to not believe. And when you do that, then it continues to spread like wildfire. And then number one, it can become cancerous. Number two, the thing that it does is when you don't believe, it causes you to not even try because you have the mindset of, if I know we can't win, then why am I even going to put my efforts into trying to defeat this team or trying to do this, period? Number one, it becomes cancerous. Number two, you don't even try. And then number three, the biggest thing that was wrong with Zechariah's unbelief, I think, is that, and we do this in sports, is the fact that he questioned the very character of God and who he is. Now, we know that God is almighty, he's all powerful, so that he is able to do whatever, whenever he wants to. So, Zechariah questioning God made him believe, or may God ask him or question him, do you not believe in my abilities? Like, I've done all of these things for the children of Israel. How dare you question me? And my question to you is, how dare you question God as if you are not able to beat a team who may be ranked higher than you? And in Matthew, it tells us that with God, all things are possible. And my thing is that if we see all the time during March Madness how these Cinderella stories happen, how the underdog beats the top ranked team. And if God did it for them, why can he not do it for you? See, when I was a player, I always thought no matter who we played, no matter if we hadn't won any games that season, I always believed that we could beat the next team and win the next game. And it was, yes, it wasn't my abilities, because I thought and I still think that I'm pretty good, but it was not only in my abilities, but truly believe that I served a God who was capable of all things, that if he did it for them, he could do it for me. So who am I to question him and his ability and not enabling us to beat this team? So if you are this player, or if you know of this player, then you want to have a conversation with them, and then you want to rid yourself of them if they continue to be this type of player, and you want to call them out. Now there's a way that you do it, but you just want to question them, especially if they claim to be a Christian athlete. Then where is your belief? Where is your faith in the God who is able to do all things? So remember that if he's done it for somebody else, he's not a God of partiality, that he can do it for you. So I want to encourage you. It does not matter if you're playing a top ranked team or if you're playing a sorry or trash team, that God has all power. And I want to encourage you, don't just believe in your abilities, which you absolutely should be working hard, but believe in the same God who allowed David to defeat Goliath, that he's able to do the same thing for you. So as always, I hope this helps.